Welcome to the Big Good Fitness Podcast. This is a podcast where we'll talk about athlete struggle and successes. And we'll also bring in special guests. So I'm here with my very, very special guest. What's up, Coach?
My man.
There we go.
Good to see you.
Here we go. So this is Coach Drake. He was one of my college coaches at Green River College. Amazing coach. We love him. He's doing some great things in the community. So we're going to be asking him about all these things that he done in the championship he won. So it's going to be a great podcast. You got to stay tuned, okay? But before we get started, it's like, okay, we'll say a quick blessing.
Absolutely.
I say a quick blessing. God, thank you so much for my friend, my coach, for bringing him here, Lord. I pray our conversation be pleasing and acceptable in your sight, God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So, Coach, how you been, man?
Man, it's been good, man. It's been a crazy off season, just busy, and a lot of attention has come to our program, so it's just been like, just trying to figure out, how to just through this process remember who I am, and always hearing my dad's voice in the back of my head, son, stay humble, and that's just how, I've been taught, as a young man, and more people will be like, Drake, you gotta, put yourself out there more, it's just not my thing, you know what I mean? Not my thing to like just boast and brag about stuff like that, because it's just, I feel like it's something I was called to do, as opposed to something I should bring me something else. I just like to give, and I really enjoy what I get to do. I really don't call this work. This is not work at all. This is my give back.
That's amazing, Coach. That's amazing, Coach. I'm going to ask you all those questions, man, how you got won a championship. But before we get into that, tell the people a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Mississippi. I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and from a household with, three older sisters, an older brother. I always like to say, I'm that whoops baby, like the big gap between me and my siblings. But dad, ran the VA department, back home. He's a vet, and my mom moved up the police ranks, in Jackson, Mississippi. And she was a chief of police for a little while there too.
Hey.
So
you're being straight,
oh man,
don't mess around, mama.
Oh man, imagine growing up in that household with that and the chief of police, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was real. But they gave me a really solid foundation, to just be a good human first, and grew up in the church, the Baptist church there. County Line Missionary Baptist Church. Shout out to my people.
Let's go.
But just had to, it just taught me a lot of things about just life in general, and they really did. I had the parents that drove me everywhere. My dad coached my teams, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have that story of my dad's over here, my mom's doing. No, they were like super supportive, drove me everywhere, picked up all my teammates, that kind of stuff. So. I got a really good background there, and then played basketball.
You always play basketball?
Played basketball, a little bit of football, but my mom and dad weren't too fond of that, because they were like, "I don't want you to get hurt," that kind of stuff. But I did track, so I did the 400, long jump, high jump, that stuff. So just kind of a well-rounded athlete. Didn't want to focus too hard on just basketball, so that when it did come to basketball season, I was hungry for it, because I had done other things. I was even also, down south, the bands are big. So, I was also in the band, played multiple instruments, and so I had just a lot of different interests.
Yes.
And I'm glad my parents pushed me in those different ways, because it made me see things differently than you normally would if you're just so hyper focused on one thing. So I'm really grateful that they helped me to find a lot of different things that I probably wouldn't have found myself. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. How will you compare high school basketball in Seattle, Washington, versus where you grew up down south?
I would say the city aspect is very, very similar, because when I was there, in Jackson, Mississippi, we had a crazy cohort of guys that were coming out at the time. I played on the same high school team as Mo Williams, and and Trey Johnson was on that same team, who ended up playing for the Lakers. And then we, there was the whole group of another rival team. They all went to Ole Miss the very next year.
Wow.
To play, and one of those guys was Tommy Kelly, who played in the NFL, and then Justin Reed, who made it to the NBA at that time. Monte Ellis was at Lanier. Darius Rice was, at Lanier. So we just had a lot of guys. Travis Outlaw was around that time too. Al Jefferson was in Mississippi at that point in time, So we just had a really strong cohort, just really good basketball. And it made the area like prime. And it was similar to what was happening here in Seattle at the same time, when you had Jamal and all those guys, Brandon Roy and those guys coming up at that similar time. Will Trey.
Yeah, all Trey's. Nice.
Trey's crazy. But, like they were all at that similar time. So I felt like the city aspect was kind of similar to where I was. And obviously Atlanta's not too far from us. So Atlanta had their thing. New Orleans is only an hour and a half, 2 hours away from us too. So, they have their own thing. And Memphis is 2 hours away. Yeah. So, they got their thing. So down south is more, I would say it's more of a collective of cities. Whereas Seattle just has this thing. Yeah. Where it's like, when I got up here, I was like, whoa, this is different, and I know they got their thing back and forth with them in Tacoma sometimes, but I think it's more condensed here where like the Hoopers are. Whereas down south it's like 2 hours this way, you got this city, 2 hours that way, you got that city. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a lot more spread out, you know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of athletes. Yeah. Some crazy athletes down there. I mean, it's athletes up here, but like the athletes down there are just
amazing.
Yeah, the country. Country strong,
strong, that kind of farm boys.
Yeah, man. So,
that's amazing. That's amazing. What college did you play for?
University of Southern Mississippi. So
how was the experience?
The experience there, I always tell people, it was great that I played, Division I basketball, but I don't know if it was the right choice for me, because, originally out of high school, crazy enough, Tony Bennett was at Wisconsin at that point in time, and he was just like a small assistant for his dad, Dick Bennett, at that time. And saw me at a random, just tournament, at the end of my senior year, and wanted me to come to Wisconsin, and when I ended up kind of just going up there, like I just didn't think that would fit for me. Yeah. So I just went JUCO, right? Because I knew that I could play. I wasn't going to worry about like playing time and all that kind of stuff. And I think I needed to develop more.
That's good.
So made the JUCO choice, and that was great for me. Like had a great experience at my junior college. Like we were ranked 19th in the country at Southwest Mississippi, CC. And we were a force to be reckoned with. Like, and we had some really good players on that team, but it like really toughened me up, what I needed to do in my college experience. But what I like to caution my own players with is from my own experience is that I had so many Division IIs and lower, very small D1s and some NAIAs that were really passionate about me. But the bigger name, Division ones that came in late that really didn't care. But it was just, I was kind of going to be a guy that would solidify the roster, but I wasn't necessarily going to be a guy. I couldn't see that at that point in time. So, yeah. So I kind of went that route, and I ended up getting injured there, and it just never really panned out there the way I wanted it to. And I felt like it was because I didn't go somewhere where I was loved. I went somewhere that I thought sounded good.
That's good. I mean? That's huge.
Yeah.
So now you are coach at Green River College. What inspired you to be a coach? A head coach too?
Yeah, like honestly, man, it was one of those things where, at the University of Southern Miss, and that's why I will give them credit, they have a coaching and sports administration program. And I just did it because I thought, this would be fun to do, this would be something to get credit in or whatever. But they're really, really big on like your internship and like you going out and getting those hours in the field and like learning from other coaches and all that kind of stuff. So I had to go around to all these high school coaches and some other college coaches and like really sit down with them and see what their day-to-day was like. So when I really saw what was going on behind the scenes, it helped me as a player because I'm like, oh man, all the thoughts I had as a player of like, man, why would coach say this or why would coach say that?
You start seeing,
you start seeing the other
different perspective.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I started seeing all the things that they do for us as players. When I was a player, I'm like, I had no idea that this dude was here until 11 p.m., working on this stuff for us. You know, you just see them at practice and you think, oh, they're just showing up and they
No,
just do their thing.
no, it's like,
You know, but oh man, it's so much more, so much more. So I started to appreciate coaches more, started to appreciate more of what they were doing and how much time they give. And once I saw all like the lowly guys that you don't know, like I interviewed one middle school coach, you know, to get some hours. And I started seeing how much of an effect this dude had in the community. And that's what flipped this switch for me. I was like, this is what I want to do. Because like he was giving out shoes. He had kids that, you know, families didn't have anything. And he was going to their houses and he was like making sure they had haircuts. He would bring barbers to the school, you know, and that stuff, just all kinds of stuff. And I was just like, you know, this guy will never get any pub, but he's probably got more of an impact than anybody I've ever known.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I was just like, what am I doing for myself to be involved in something like that?
Yeah.
How can I get invested in this world? You know?
Yeah.
So that's when I started talking to my coaches a little differently and told them I really wanted to coach. And they helped me figure out a path to do it.
That's amazing, Coach. That's amazing. Greenville won the state championship, right? It's a national championship?
The NWAC.
NWAC championship last season. And for quite a while, it was a struggling program, right? And you turned that whole program around. I got a lot of guys who want to play for Greenville now, and back in the day, that was not the case.
No.
Right? So walk us through that process. How? What are your coaching philosophy? Like, what changed?
Yeah. I think one thing was I came in and so many people told me, Drake, don't take that job. That's not a good job. You know, like it's gonna ruin your career. Like you're gonna have that attached to you forever. Like really think about this before you do this. And I just had this feeling in my mind of like, because I had been around Green River before, obviously as an assistant.
Yeah, you coached me.
And coach, you know, you guys don't know. This dude, man, before we get to answer this question, I gotta tell you how I met this guy. So me and the head coach at the time, Tim Malroy, is legitimately having a conversation in the gym. Wu walks in with a backpack on and some boots. Dude's got on some boots and he's like, I want to try out for the team. And I'm like, looking at Tim, like, is this dude serious? He grabs a ball. He dunks the ball with a backpack on. And I said, Tim, we got to put him on the team. We got to put him on the team. Like, there's no way I can look at this guy who has a backpack on and boots, and he dunks, and I can't put it out, bro. Like, that was one of the craziest, I'm telling y'all, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life, bro. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to coach you, man, because Wu was one of the most humble and real people you'll ever meet. And those guys still, to this day, if I check in on them, they were like, man, how's Wu doing? Like, you know, all those guys. So, man, I'm grateful I had that opportunity.
Thank you, Coach. And thank you guys to all the staff that invested in me, gave me the opportunity. At the time, I just came from West Africa, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So in 2008, 2009, I could barely speak well. But I just wanted a shot. And you guys gave me a shot. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, that was, you know, and coming from that, seeing Tim's struggles, you know, and him trying to get buy-in at our college to believe in athletics, because that was part of the issue, was just that there was no belief in what we do, you know, with athletics there, you know, and it was just like an afterthought.
That's not a thing.
You know, and it's just like, that was the thing that I felt like when I got there, I was like, I have to get campus buy-in. The only way I'm going to do that, though, is I have to be authentic, you know, and I can't come in and coach like somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I did that a lot when I coached high school and some other spots. You know, like I was like, I'm trying to be what I see other people being, and I'm not being who I am.
Yes.
And the things that I see and I like. And I was like, you know what? Year one, I'm just going to come in. I'm going to love on my guys. But everything that I've always thought about doing on the court, as far as like, oh, we'll play this defense or we'll run this action, even if it don't make sense, we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. Throw it all out the window. We're just going to do it. And a lot of it worked. You know what I mean? And guys were like, Coach, this is crazy. And other teams were like freaking out, trying to figure out what we're doing. You know, and then I started to really put stuff down, pen to paper, and start really doing deep dives and like joining all these coaching groups of like with professionals that are over in Europe and like getting,
learning.
learning and just doing deep dives. And like literally every summer, I'm on road trips going to different gyms while everybody else is sitting around, kind of just chilling out after the season. I'm going to get it. You know what I mean? And I am a firm believer in being a lifelong learner.
Always
like,
learning.
Even if we're having success, I feel like there's always more. So I felt like that was the biggest deal with us turning things around. There was just we've created a belief there, in our culture. We call it our 5G culture. It's 5 different G's that we use that our guys, build everything off of. But the main part of it is it's a play on, the 5G wireless, stay connected, just stay connected, and that's literally what we do. And we have circles every day. We begin practice with a circle, end practice with a circle, where we do a check-in where everybody goes, what color are you showing up as, right? Are you green, yellow, red? And
that's good.
Everybody knows. And I'm in that though. A lot of coaches will be like, "You guys talk."
Yeah.
No, I go in and I'll tell them, hey, today's not a good day, right? Like I had a bad day at work, and I might need you guys to pick me up today. So and those guys,
that's good.
They help me, and then they see a man being vulnerable, exactly.
Two men.
Yeah,
that's good.
Exactly, and it creates that shared leadership. My players don't feel like they can't come to me. They can talk to me differently a lot of times from what I hear from them than they have with other coaches.
Wow.
So I feel like that's the secret sauce, my man. If I'm being honest, it's not the X's and O's. It's how we believe in our people there. Honestly,
And I've been knowing you for over 7 years. No, 14 years now.
Yeah, man. That's
14 years. And you always been the same dude, man.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you go about recruiting athletes?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
So my process is a little bit different, honestly. There's some dudes that are like super talented that I like pass on. And it's not because, I don't think they can play college basketball. It's just if I'm going to spend time away from my house, I got to be able to vibe with dudes, right? And I can't be getting into this back and forth with you about what you think and feel is right, about basketball. You know what I'm saying?
What's the point?
Exactly. So I really do a lot of deep dives with people around the players that I'm interested in, and I spend more time there figuring out who they are and what supports do they have, and will I have the right amount of supports for them. If the answer is no, even if that guy is supremely talented, I'm not going to bring him in because I'm doing that guy a disservice, right? And I'm not going to be able to give him what he needs. So if I don't have the answer for a player, I'm not going to coach that guy. But if I feel like I have the right supports and you have the right, mentality, then you're my type of guy.
Fit right in your system.
We'll fit. And that's the thing. That's the key piece too, Wu, is that we don't really have a system. My system is my players. So if I got shooters, we're going to do shooters actions. If I got a bunch of bruisers, we're going to run bruisers, type of actions. If I got a bunch of slow guys, then we'll figure out, how we're going to do this, in that way. But I'm not married to a system, right? I'm married to my players, right? And my players have all the necessary tools to create their own system, their own flow. And once we figure it out, man, it's beautiful. It's poetry in motion, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing, Coach. Yeah. That's amazing. So I got why would you advise a high school player that think JUCO or junior college is beneath them? They don't want to play JUCO. They want to focus on D1. What advice can you give them?
This is a good question. These are questions I love because, this is me talking to 18-year-old me. You know what I'm saying? Like, the advice I always tell them is, now with the NILs and all this stuff that's out there now and the transfer portal, you better take what you can get. And I'm speaking, and this is not coming from a JUCO coach, because everybody goes, well, you would say that because you're in JUCO.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm saying that because I have seen some highly talented athletes in the last 4 years that are still sitting around here because they refuse to go to an NWAC school, because they're waiting on something else.
Yeah.
And that something else ain't coming because the guys that used to would take a chance on a high school guy at the 4-year level, why would they do that when they got a 22-year-old that's been cycling through the system, but he's a proven commodity? They know exactly what they're going to get out of this guy. So let's just do the math. I'm sitting in the office. I'm as an assistant coach at a 4-year. I'm trying to keep my job. Am I going to go to my head coach and say, "Hey, I got this 18-year-old that's unproven, or I got this 22-year-old that's ready to go right now"? You get what I'm saying?
All right.
And guys gotta know that, and they gotta know that's what they're up against. So if you're not like a McDonald's All American type or a guy that's consistently in 4-year conversations, you better get to know these JUCO coaches, because I'm telling you right now, you go the JUCO route, you get your stuff together, and you really play hard. When you're done after year one, if you're really good, or year two, you're already going to be ahead of the high school guys that are coming out of that class. So it goes, this is the way it goes. It goes obviously transfer portal, international, all that stuff is kind of wrapped into one. Mm-hmm. Then you got the JUCO guys. Mm. They're next. So you put yourself in the next category if you go JUCO. But if you try to go, circumvent the system, it's really, really hard, man. So I've seen a lot of guys that have been right there teeter-tottering on that 4-year line that have gone to the NWAC schools or gone to an NJCAA school and have just taken off. And it's really it's a crazy thing, because like our NWAC MVP last year from our team, Jaden Farrell, right, came onto the scene in Utah, was like, I think he was rated the 30th best player in Utah, right? Yeah. So, I mean, which is good. Yeah. But like, he was just kind of still right there where guys were unsure. Yeah. So he definitely could have gone to a random 4-year. Yeah. And maybe figured it out. Kid comes here and completely just attacks the NWAC. Wow. And just blew up. He almost won West Region MVP, his freshman year. He was 2 votes shy of that. Then last year, obviously, he took us through a crazy tournament run and was the NWAC MVP. Mm. Guy's playing at Holy Cross right now, the Division One player, right? That's not happening if Jaden had tried to circumvent the system. Yes. He came to the NWAC, he crushed it, and now he's writing his own ticket now. You know what I mean? So, like, and there's more guys. There's way more stories than just Jaden's story out of the NWAC, right? Yeah. There's so many NWAC guys right now that are on either the Division One or high-level Division Two teams or top-tier NAIA programs that are like killing it right now. That's amazing, Coach. Yeah, so more high school guys need to see that. They all think, oh, I'll go to Green River, I'll go to this place, if I have to. I'm like, bro, come to a game if you want to and see these. It's competitive. It's no joke. It's no joke. Come see real basketball. Yes, absolutely. Real basketball. Absolutely. Man, that's a great advice. Yeah. That's a great advice. Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself coaching at a higher level someday? That's the question. I'm just like, yeah, this is the tricky one. Because this is where my father's voice and, some of the other voices that have brought me up, be where your feet are, right? Be present, be where you are, and really invest in where you are, and the rest will take care of itself. There's definitely been interest. Like, there have definitely been people that have tried to get me to, think about next steps, at the next level, whether it be a Division I assistant or whether it be a Division II head coach, type stuff, like feeling me out, see what's there. But, when I'm committed to a group of individuals and I'm recruiting, I need to be honest with them and tell them what my thought process is. And if I'm not fully there, I'm going to let them know, that I'm not fully there and invested, because I don't want young men to be making a decision based on me and then I go somewhere else. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's huge. I just feel a little weird about that. So I definitely listen, but if it gets to the point where I'm actually like about to make a move, my players will be the first. First ones to know that. But like, definitely not my focus. I'm really invested right now in making Green River be the premier West Coast school for JUCO. Let's go. Absolutely. Let's go. So in what practical ways do you think the city of Auburn and surrounding communities could help your program? You guys win the games now, win the championship. Yeah. Well, that's a good question, because right now we are still in the process. And I don't know if you knew, last year we didn't have a gym. So we won an NWAC title and played 33 road games. What happened with the gym? So we had a guy. So our floor, has to go through these processes, right? And like, something just kept coming up in the floor, and it was getting really slippery in there. So it was pretty dangerous. So they had to shut the facility down, and couldn't quite figure out what was going on with it. So we just played at Tacoma. Tacoma was our home gym last year. So that was pretty tough, for our guys, and they're working on it now. We're supposed to have the floor by January 2nd. It's supposed to be brand new. They're already shaving everything down and all that kind of stuff back to the raw, bottom layer, all that stuff. So we'll have a brand new floor and all that stuff. But what we really and truly need are partnerships. And I think that's what's missing in our area is that connection with athletics to the community there, because we have such a good brand right now, such a good brand right now, and they can help out other smaller, businesses and stuff in our area, and that we want to bring their name into our facility, and be partners with them, because we need that facility to turn into something that the community is proud of. You know what I mean? And you have your AAU tournaments there because it's such a good location. Like our facility is located at, you're in between Bellevue and Tacoma and Seattle. It's like in that weird little pocket where everybody could get there. You know what I mean? And they could be such a big thing and we have such a good campus. I don't know if you've been on campus recently, but it's so beautiful. Like all the buildings are brand new, and all that kind of stuff. So like it's a really beautiful place, but we need to just update that facility, like locker rooms. We still don't, like you've been in that locker room. We don't have a championship level locker room. We don't have, the, like all these other programs are getting like the brand new facilities. We don't even want that. We love our current facility. We just want the updates.
Upgrade
upgrade in there. Like we don't need all the other stuff. We just need the upgrades. So it'd be great to like find some community partnerships that we can get with, that some of the other programs are starting to get now. And because of the fact, especially that those programs are getting it, but they haven't won the title.
So that's a big thing to win the title.
We have the title, so we should be able to get some of these partnerships, with these people in Auburn, and really be able to promote what we have in Auburn and the community and our surrounding, and Kent and all those little areas that are right here that Green River supports. Because you got a Green River campus in Kent. You got one in Enumclaw. So we have these things, but now it's time for us to like join together and not just be so disconjointed, where it is. So that's kind of what I feel like we need, for our program to advance to that level where we can just stay here, and consistently be that team.
That's amazing. So business owners, if you're watching this in Auburn and Kent area, please support the Green River JUCO College basketball. They're doing amazing things in the community. So, Coach, we're gonna wrap this thing up. So, what advice do you have for upcoming coaches that want to coach at the JUCO level? Like, what advice could you give them?
Honestly, man, like it's crazy to say this, but you can't say no. Like you have to be like, when I first started, it's tough because you're not gonna make anything, right? Unless you just walk into something crazy, it's not gonna be financially stable at first. So you have to have a plan. Number one, you have to have a financial plan that's gonna support you, and you have to get a job that's flexible enough to where you can go do your basketball stuff. You know what I mean? But still make money. But you also have to network like crazy, right? You got to be at these coaching events. If somebody's got a camp, go rebound. Like, don't be the guy that's like, oh, I'm too good. I used to hoop. I'm not rebounding for nobody. Like, no, buddy, you better
humble yourself.
Get out there and be somebody. Like, you see somebody. Like one time I was at a shooting clinic, that a guy was doing, and I saw they were working through some stuff, but nobody was rebounding. So I just went out there and started rebounding, just throwing passes back. And, after the guy goes, hey, here's my card, blah, blah, blah. This was when I was, just getting into coaching. He was like, yeah, give me a call, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I created a network of people, then he was like, no, go to this camp, go to that camp, go do this, join this coaching group. And I started learning the behind the scenes stuff. So, and he was one of the first guys that told me, early on in your career, you got to say yes to a whole lot of stuff, right? It can't be a lot of no's. If you got a lot of no's and people start knowing you for the guy that can't be over, oh, he really can't make it over there. He really can't do this. They're going to stop saying your name. You know what I mean? So you have to be willing to say yes. You have to put yourself out there. Email's not the way, honestly. Like I used to think email was the way, but I'm telling you right now, I look at my email inbox at Green River and I'm probably 3,000 emails behind. You know what I mean? There's just not enough time in the day to respond to all the emails that
emails,
come in.
yeah.
Like, so you have to really put yourself out there. Like, you got to know, like, all right, I'll go to a game and just introduce myself after. You know what I mean? Like, hey, coach, know you got other things you got to do, but I just wanted to tell you, hello, love what you're doing with your program. If you have any time ever, you know what I mean? I would love to talk to you about,
that's real.
Basketball. You know what I mean?
That's real.
There's not a guy that if you approach him in that way is going to be like, get away from me.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it helps us put a face to a name.
Yeah, not just another email.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know who that is. You have no idea who that person is. So any young coaches out there, man, I'm definitely willing. My number is on our website. You can text me. You can see me on Twitter, all that stuff. I do respond to stuff on Twitter. I do respond to stuff, on our Instagram account. So honestly, man, if you ever want to reach out and just figure out anything about how to get into coaching, I am definitely more than willing to have that conversation with any young coach that's out there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And coach, like sometimes I got younger athletes that will want to play for Greenville, but they don't know how to go about that. Do you guys do open gyms, open trial for athletes?
So we do. The only issue this year was that we didn't have a facility to do it in.
Yeah.
But in normal years, we have our facility all summer long, and then right after March, so like April hits, and that's when our open gyms begin. So we will always put our open gym times on our Twitter and our gotta call it X now, our X accounts and Instagram. We'll always post those. So check those consistently for our team pages, and you'll always know when we have the open runs and all that kind of stuff. And then once we have guys sign in when they get there, so then we have your information. So now you're not just some random person that's like,
cool, email. Check my email.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because there's so much of that. So we figured out we have QR codes that we put in the gym too, so they can scan those, and now we get their information that way too. So so even at games this year, we're gonna have QR codes that if you're interested, athlete, click it. Now it comes right to my phone, so it's not me searching through emails again. It goes to a spreadsheet, and now I have it.
You have it.
Yeah.
Maybe another guy with a backpack on, the teams can come.
Oh man, if there's another Woo out there, please come see me. Oh my gosh.
For sure, man. For sure, man. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast, Coach. I really appreciate you for coming, man. What an honor. What an honor, man. So thank you guys, man. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please follow Green River Basketball Instagram page, and you guys got X page too, Twitter, X page. If you guys got a YouTube page, please subscribe to. And business owners, if you out there, please support the Green River basketball team. Please, they need your help. They are doing amazing things in the community. That's what we do this podcast for. We appreciate you all. Peace out. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir, my man.
There you go.